Okay, so we're looking at chapter 20, and I want to review the case studies considered in this chapter. And this one has a whopping 7 case studies, so a lot to focus on here. Most of these, I think all of them will be included as your discussion posts, so you have a bevy of topics to look at. The first, and I'll go through these quickly, is the 2014 child migration crisis. A lot of the cases in this chapter deal with some of those key contemporary issues of migration, of asylum, of immigration. The second is related, it's managing refugees and asylum seekers in the modern world. As you see crises like those in Iraq, the Middle East, and Syria, and you see refugees moving, trying to receive asylum in various countries, puts a major strain on those countries, and there's a crisis now worldwide dealing with how there's a crisis now worldwide in terms of dealing with those refugees and asylum seekers. The third section focuses on suburbs are not all white picket fences. The banlieues of Paris, banlieues are basically low income housing districts. And so I think we have a perception sometimes of what a suburb is, and maybe we should have a different view of it using this case study from Paris, France. Next, we have the tragedy of the commons, and this is focused on the idea of limited resources. We talked about carrying capacity and what happens if cattle are grazing in a particular area as an example, and they strip the resources. So the carrying capacity of environments being taken away, being stripped, I think is a real key concern for us to think about relative to all our environmental issues around the world. Next, we'll talk about what should Apple and friends do about e-waste. So a lot of us have cell phones and devices, and we have batteries and parts that go bad, and over time this e-waste gets thrown away. Well, what if there's mercury and bad stuff in these batteries and other products? What if they're not recycled? What if all of these components start to leach into our groundwater and get into our bodies and stuff? So a real concern here about e-waste and what to do about it. The next is the fire burns on Centralia, Pennsylvania. This is a case study of a fire that's been burning to this day for like decades and decades in Pennsylvania. So you can look up that case study if you want. Look up some videos online, because indeed, according to my research, it's still going today. And lastly, American Indian tribes and environmental racism. Environmental racism basically is the practice of dumping toxic waste or pollution or building electrical plants or stuff that's going to harm your body in areas of low-income populations or areas that are living areas of certain populations like Native Americans. So environmental racism is a real concern that we should address here this week as we focus on our discussion topics and case studies here in Chapter 20 of our textbook.